Welcome back to the Fire Break. I'm Steve Wolf. As you know, the Fire Break is sponsored by Team Wildfire, developing innovative wildfire suppression and containment equipment. Check us out on the web at teamwildfire.com. Boy, somebody's no stranger to fire suppression and containment is Chief Shanton Russell, who's the fire chief at the Scott Air Force Base in Belleville, Illinois. Welcome to the show. How are you today, Chief?
I'm fine, Steve. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to join you.
I'm excited to chat with you. I saw you on LinkedIn. You always post such interesting things, articles and opinions, and you just seem like such a nice guy. I wanted to say, get on the show here. Come on, spread a little of this fire love.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just fortunate. Just to be in the position. I feel like I'm the luckiest guy alive.
Maybe
Just
you are.
being able to represent our firefighters who are protecting installations such as this one, and also firefighters that are on the military side of the house. Because as you know, I don't know if you know or not, but yeah, I actually represent both military and civilian firefighters who do the job. So for our military firefighters, they have a dual mission. They're not just protecting the base, but they also deploy and they head down range and they do our nation's business in different countries around the world. So I'm representing our war fighters as well. So yeah, just proud to be here. And so most of the articles you mentioned, LinkedIn. A lot of the articles I'm posting, I'm coming up on the sunset of my career. October 17th will be my retirement ceremony.
No kidding.
And December 1st, I'll be Mr. Russell, right?
Mr. Russell, huh?
So as I'm headed towards the end of my military service,
Right.
I've been doing a lot of reflecting. And so most of the articles that I'm posting now on LinkedIn are just pretty much a product of many hours as I spend a little bit more time at home, taking a little bit of leave, getting to reconnect a little bit more with family. I'm starting to reflect a lot more, and that's where the articles are coming from. Me just basically going back and thinking through experiences and places I've been and people I've had the opportunity to work with.
And as you look back on that, what does that journey look like? When did you first get interested in fire?
Wow. So I would tell
You
you,
were 4 or 5 years old?
I find well a little bit later than that, but not too much later than that. I was probably in the third grade, and we did a field trip. I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago, kind of near. It's in the inner city, but near Oak Park, Illinois. And we went on a field trip. I went to John Hay Elementary School, and so there's a fire department in the neighborhood, and they took us on a field trip. And nothing against our police police officers out there. We had police officers come and visit the school, so we'd have like officer
Yeah.
friendly, and those folks visit the school, and that was cool, getting a chance to talk to the police officers. But for the fire department visit, we actually went to the fire station.
Okay.
So that was a great field trip. I remember it very, very well, very vividly. And at my age, 51, there's a lot of things I forgot. But
Yeah,
that
right.
first fire department tour, I remember that very, very vividly. Just being able to walk through the station and have the firefighters take us through and see the kitchen where they ate, and I can just envision them just living in the place. I compare it to um, being in the Batcave, and
Yeah, right.
and they were like superheroes to me. I mean, whether I saw them driving past on the truck, um, or see them in their gear, on the streets from time to time, getting a chance to be in the firehouse as a kid at that age, putting a big jacket on. Oh, I was on cloud nine, and that's where the love came from. But I'll tell you,
Uh-huh.
from that, I never knew even at that moment that I would become a firefighter. I just knew that I had a great respect for firefighters and what they did. So then I would say, as I'm getting a little bit older, um, finishing up high school, I really didn't have a clue of what I was going to do, and I ended up looking for jobs, classified. And I went to school for 2 years, Northern Illinois University. Thought I was going to be a journalist, and so I did 2 years in journalism. Couldn't really afford college, so after 2 years, I came home and decided to try to go to school and work a job. So I ended up getting a job working at the Chicago Board of Trade. I was a runner, and so I ran orders in and out of the pit.
Okay.
It was a good job. It was fun, very fast paced job. Didn't really pay a lot of money, and again, trying to make money and go to school was tough. And so when it really got tough, one had to go. And so for me, I let school go and decided to just work. And of course, I wanted to do a little bit more with my life. So I went down the street on a lunch break and talked to a local recruiter. There was a big federal building not far from the Board of Trade, and I went and talked to a recruiter. And there was this huge, we call them security forces. They're police, Air Force police, and huge security forces guy is my recruiter. He's probably 2 times my height and about 2 times my size, muscles coming through his uniform, very sharp guy. And I tell you, a lot of people you hear a lot of people that maybe join the military that might say that their recruiters lied to them. I never had that experience. My recruiter, I was 22 when I came in. My recruiter laid it all out there for me. There were no surprises. So as I would go on to join the military, the things that I ended up learning within those first few months, that first year, my recruiter had pretty much set me up for success. And so that's, looking back on that, I kudos to him, and I definitely appreciate him for that. But I will say that he talked to me about all of these different jobs that the Air Force had to offer. Oh yeah, we have, we have cooks, we have police, we have aircraft maintainers, I mean, you name it, we got the job. He never said firefighting. And so as he listed off this laundry list of jobs, I asked him, I said, so do you guys have firefighters? And he goes, well, as a matter of fact, yeah, we do. And I'm wondering, like, man, why didn't you just say that? And like, why wasn't that one of the first jobs?
Right. Lead with that, right?
If I wouldn't have asked, I probably would have been, I don't know, I probably would have been an aircraft mechanic or something like
Or a
that.
chef,
Which is a
right?
great chef. I could have been a chef. Might not be bad jobs to have. I mean,
No, but you
I
got
like
one
to
more
think
eye in there now, right?
of,
The
I'm telling
difference
you,
between a
Chef
chef and a chief
Russell.
is one eye, right?
I
Very
like to
funny.
think I'm a chef these days at home, but my wife would probably argue. I don't know if she would agree or not, but I like to play around in the kitchen from time to time. But I definitely once he told me that there were firefighters, I said, "Well, can I be a firefighter?"
Yeah.
And he looked for a class for me, and after about 3 days, he called me back and said, "Hey, we were able to get you in a class," and I had to be on the delayed enlistment program, or the delayed entry program, call it DEP. And so I waited. I think I signed up in August, and I didn't leave until November. So November 22nd, 1995, I got on a plane for the first time and left home, like completely left. Because when I went for college, I was only an hour and a half away from home,
Okay.
from where I lived. So really wasn't gone. My grandmother actually said, she asked me, she said, are you sure you're in the military? Because I see you more now than I saw you before, before you left for the military. I'm like, yes, grandma, I am actually in the military. So my first base actually ended up being Scott Air Force Base. So the
Oh
place where
wow.
I'm the fire chief right now
Yeah.
is actually a place where I ended up going. So I went to basic training, Lackland Air Force Base. That's home of all of our airmen and guardians. So that's where we all go for basic military training. That was a great experience. I would like to say that everything you need to know, for the most part, to make it through a military career, they teach you at basic training. So the things that lays the foundation. Even to be a good firefighter in the Air Force, going through basic military training gives you the foundation. And immediately after basic, I got on a bus and they shipped me off to Goodfellow Air Force Base, San Angelo, Texas, and
Yeah.
that is the home of the Department of Defense's Fire Academy. That's where all of us go, and we learn it all. And they give it to us in a very kind of short period of time, about 3 months, and they teach us everything from aircraft rescue, firefighting, structural firefighting. We get our hazmat, a taste of hazmat, and we get emergency medical responder training. So you name it, they teach us to us at the Fire Academy. When you show up to your first assignment, you're pretty much ready to go, right? You're ready to get started. So I showed up day one right here at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. Um, fresh off the streets and out of basic training and tech school, and in my first firehouse, and I got yelled at actually in this very this very office by a staff sergeant. In this office that I'm in used to be the fire prevention office, so there were cubicles here. The fire chief's office sat right outside of my office, which is where our deputy fire chief sits now, and then the deputy fire chief's office, which is where our current superintendent sits, was right across from it. This was a fire prevention office. Okay. So I had the it was the whole hand and face. You will listen. I told you to do this, and I asked for permission to speak. So my hands are behind my back, standing at parade rest, and permission to speak freely, sir. No, you shut up and you listen. This is a one-way conversation. That happened 3 feet from where I'm sitting right now. So
what initiated that?
Oh my gosh, this me running my mouth out on the basketball court right behind me. But I was mouthing off to the wrong guy. Okay. I was reminded, hey, look, young man, this isn't the blacktop back in your neighborhood in Chicago. Here we have an enlisted force structure and rules and regulations and ways to do business here. And I had a couple of friends who were out on the court with me. The court, I can look out that window at the basketball court. It's just crazy how this whole thing has come full circle. But a couple of friends of mine, a little bit further ahead than I was, actually pulled me to the side when that door opened, and I walked out of it and said, okay, we got to teach you how to handle yourself here in the military. It's a little bit different than what you might be used to. But it was a great 30 years. I say fast forward close to 30 years now. I end up arriving, showed up, walking through the hallways. Folks are bringing me back here to show me where my office is going to be. And I'm thinking I'm going to be right in the old fire chief's office. And they go, oh, yeah, and this is your office. And I'm like, this is my office. I'm like, this used to be the prevention office. They're like, no, it's the fire chief's office now. And I opened the door and I almost passed out. Right as I walked past the spot, I was like, well, I got yelled at as a kid right here. Now it's going to be my office. But it was a great experience. And so as we don't put our hands in airmen's faces these days. That was the mid 90s.
Right.
These days, I like to sit down, and if they have to have a talking to, I like to give them. If I have to give them a good talking to, I'll give them a good talking to. But
don't they prefer to do it by text?
Look, you jest. But there may have been from time. My phone may have a few corrective actions in text message or email, that I may have to give to folks, and I'd say sometimes that's just as effective as that one-on-one face-to-face talking to. Yeah, but that's a little bit about my path. Yeah. I've had since leaving here as a young airman, I've had 12 PCS moves. So I've left permanent change of station moves. I started here, left here, ended up getting an assignment to Yokota Air Base, Japan. I stayed in Japan for 6 years. I absolutely loved being in that area near Tokyo. I made staff sergeant there right before it was time for me to leave. I put in for an assignment to the fire academy to teach at the fire academy, and then got accepted. And then left Japan, went to Texas. Stayed in Texas for 5 years.
Was that back to San Angelo or where?
That was, went back to San Angelo to teach.
Great. I've been to that base and watched the training exercise there. It's amazing.
At the firehouse?
Where they have the airplanes on fire.
So absolutely. Yeah. So I used to work in that actual block. Blocks at the time it was block 6. It was our 6th block of instruction. Our last final block of instruction at the time. I think they've changed things up a little bit since, but I did work aircraft, but it's amazing. That place is just amazing, and the number of students that they rotate in and out and they send around the world to do our business. I like to call it God's work. That is, it's just amazing. So a true testament to the professionalism and the pride that our instructors and our firefighters that work there, they have on a day-to-day basis. But I will say that leaving there, it prepared me so much. I got to do some things in Air Education Training Command at the time. I got to learn how to cross the T's, dot the I's, put lesson plans together. Public speaking, that was one of the first opportunities for me to really get a little bit better at it. Was during my time as an instructor. Left there, ended up going to Lodges Field in Portugal, Azores, Portugal.
Oh
I
wow,
was
how'd you
there
like the
for
Azores?
paradise on earth. Paradise on earth. Just beautiful. So tiny island, um, some things to do, and
Yeah,
immediately getting there, I was just blown away, mesmerized. But after probably about maybe 2 days, I think I'd seen the whole island.
yeah, right. And for
So
anyone who doesn't know, the Azores are they're Portugal's Hawaii.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and they're different islands, but I happen to
Yep.
be on the island of 𝐿𝐴. So that is um, where Lodge's field is located. So um, we ended up. I was there just under 2 years, and but I absolutely loved working with the Portuguese firefighters that we had there. The food was amazing. The landscape, the scenery. I did get to Lisbon a few times. I absolutely enjoyed going to Lisbon and getting a chance to spend a little bit of time in the city. It went by quick. I deployed out of there as well. So so it cut my time in half, which I should have been there just under 2 years. I say I was there just under 2 years, but I deployed for 7 months. So I
Okay.
really only had just about 8 months, 9 months on island. Came back from my deployment, took off, and ended up going to Spangdahlem Air Base, Germany, and I worked there for 2 years. Left Germany, ended up going to RAF Mildenhall, United Kingdom, and I worked there for 4 years. After the United Kingdom, I ended up heading to Joint Base Andrews, Maryland. Uh, call it the President's Base, home of Air Force One. That was a lot of fun. Um, got a chance to see some really cool things and get to meet some really uh, amazing people. I had the chance to I bumped into President Obama on the golf course. Not really, but kind of. I was on the
Yeah, yeah,
driving
yeah.
range with my wife, and Secret Service agents came by and was like, "Hey, we just wanted to let you guys know, President's finishing up on 18th hole, and he normally likes to come over and say hi to folks when he's done. So if you guys are interested, you come on over. He'll likely come shake you guys' hand." So looked at the wife, said, "Want to meet the president?" And we walked over, and as
Wow.
soon as he was done, and if you've seen videos of him walking, he has the cool walk. He finished up on the 18th hole and kind of did the little walk all over. "Hello, everybody. How you doing?" Shaking everyone's hand. So it's pretty cool. So I have a little photo of the side of his face shaking my hand, and that was cool. I got to see President Trump when he ended up after the first election, and right after he landed at Andrews, um, they had the motorcade pick him up, and so me and my guys team is pretty much out on the airfield seeing a lot of this happen. So I got to see presidents come on and off the plane, DVs come on and off the plane throughout my time there. We had a really good team. Got a chance to go to a lot of the mall and a lot of the different memorials in the DC area, to include the Air Force Memorial, concerts out there at the Air Force Memorial. Just amazing. I truly enjoyed the experience. But then, of course, all good things must come to an end, and I had to leave. Now they shipped me to Korea, where I was the fire chief at 𝐾𝐿 Air Base. It was my very first fire chief job, 𝐾𝐿 Air Base in South Korea. Fast pace. We call it the tip of the spear. 𝐾𝐿 Air Base is very important to our interests in that region. Very important mission. We have fighters there, and the firefighters there are top notch, and they're expected to be on point at all times. I like to say that that's the case for most of our fire departments, but especially there at 𝐾𝐿 because of the uniqueness of that mission. Got to do a year there, and after that, I headed to McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita, Kansas. Got to McConnell, and great assignment. I did not know that it was going to be a great assignment. I read off a list of assignments
Yeah,
to you, and
yeah.
and then Wichita,
Wichita.
Kansas, right? That we would that so I kind of felt like, okay, all right, well, this is kind of where the Air Force starts to stick it to me. What is in Wichita, Kansas, right? But I'm gonna tell you what was in Wichita, Kansas. Phenomenal people, some really great restaurants. I'm talking about folks within the community. Not a big city, but a
Right.
city nonetheless. And the team there at the base, the professionals that I got a chance to work with, uh, Wichita was probably one of it's up there as among my top 3 assignments, right?
Wow.
So it's not always about the location. Um, uh, and if I had had my way, I probably, back then, looking back, if I'd had my way, I probably would have elected to go somewhere else, someplace a little bit more sexy. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, Wichita turned out to be great. So sometimes, which leads me to kind of believe that sometimes your steps are kind of ordered for you, right? And sometimes it's those bases you don't necessarily think you want to go to. Those are places that you may need to go to. And so
Yeah.
I got there and just had a great team that I worked with, and a great fire chief, and Chief Sanchez, who was there. We had a good relationship, and we worked really. There was a deputy there, but we worked very well together, taking care of firefighters. Left Wichita and got hired to come to go to Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. That is
Wow.
the place where not a lot of airmen want to go, and it's because it is very cold there. And I think the coldest it got was about -50 wind chill for me
Wow.
during my time there. I
Yeah.
did. So I talked. This is a pretty interesting story. So maybe I talked to my wife when it was when that came up, and I'm a mission guy, so I kind of want to know what's going on
Right.
at the base. And so to me, it's like, what's happening at the base? What are they about? What's their primary mission? And their primary mission is B-52s, right? So, and all of
Mm.
that comes with that. So for
Yeah.
me, it's like I get to be around a B-52. It's historic aircraft. This mission is why most Americans get to be Americans, right? It's because it is mission,
Right.
right? And the deterrence.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I was like, I want to be a part of that. But I didn't know how my wife would respond if we got the job.
So
So
then
I
let me know
asked
when
her,
you're back, right?
I said, sweetheart. I said, sweetheart, how would you feel if we ended up getting an assignment to Minot, North Dakota? She said, it's cold there, right? I said, it's going to be very cold there, extremely cold, probably colder than we've ever experienced. And she goes, well, if you want to go there, I'm with you. You go, I go. It's like, all right, sounds good. We take
Wow.
off and we get to North Dakota, and it was brutal. The cold was brutal, but the beauty of that base is everyone is going through it together. There's such great community, and I mean, the first time my first day going to work, I got stuck in the snow, and I get out of my vehicle to try to see if I can dig my way out. Automatically, I look over and I see like cars stopping and people jumping out of the car. They don't know me. I don't know who they are. They see a car stuck. They get out and they start pushing me. I'm like, hey, I can get it. I got it. You guys don't have to worry. Nope. Be quiet. Move out the way. They got me out and I made it to work on time. And I was like, wow,
Wow.
this doesn't typically happen. But it's all hands on deck. People typically in that area, they work together. They got each other's back and they're getting the job done. They don't care. It doesn't matter how warm it is or how cold it is. Still a mission and things to do, whether it's indoors or out. I saw fire trucks with lines frozen, icicles hanging off of them. Had no idea how my guys were going to get the truck back in service, but they had a plan. They were like, "Chief, we're just going to throw all this on the bed and get it back in the station, thaw it all out, and put it back in service. We're good to go." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, well, hey, you guys got it." And they
Oh
made
boy.
it, and they made it work. We made it
Wow.
work, and
Good.
so I was in Minot for just under 2 years, and then I thought maybe there might be a chance I retire there, um, as I knew that the time would be coming. So and I didn't want to kind of make too many more moves. Air Force had other plans and said, "Hey, look, we need you to need you to go to Qatar and lead the fire department
Wow.
there." So I had an opportunity to go do that. Wasn't very happy about it initially,
In
but
Doha or
again,
where were you?
I was in Doha. Yeah, so I was actually in at Al-Udeid Air Base, and it was a great place. We have a lot going on there at that mission, because that base kind of touches everything that's going on in the Middle East and in that
Yeah.
AOR. So so yeah, a huge mission, a lot of mission partners, and great responsibility. Again, one of those one of those bases where the fire department kind of has a no fail mission. You must be on your A game, right? Not a lot of room for messing up there, you know. So yeah, it was a great assignment, but I had a great team around me, and we did some really good things at that installation. Wrapped that up, and I had always kind of thought maybe it'd be great to go back to Scott. I didn't know if I really have the opportunity to get back here, but there was a few vacancies. Fire chief who was here before me ended up retiring in August, and so I ended up finding out that I was headed out in September to Qatar. So as my time winded down, and as I started trying to figure out what was available, the space was available. So I talked to our personnel section that's responsible for our chief assignments, and this was open. I put in for it. I got it, and yeah, this is where I will. I call this my sprint to the finish line, right? So I
Yes.
had folks saying to me, "Hey, yeah, so we hear that you're going to be going coming to retire." Yeah, I was like, "No, I'm not coming there to retire. No, I don't know who told you that." Well, we heard you were coming to be a chief here. You were coming here to retire. I was like, "I'm not coming there to retire." I said, "I'm coming there to work, but I
There you go.
will retire there." I said, "It means two different things, right?"
That's
So
right. Yeah.
at the end of the day, this is the sprint to the finish line, and it has indeed been that, because I do like to come in every day and work hard. Um, Come in, get it done. Work hard on behalf of the firefighters who are working hard as well. I shouldn't get a chance to sit back and relax and chill while my firefighters are expected to be on their best at all times. So I come in and really work hard um, on their behalf every single day. So I left. I ended up getting here, finishing up my time here in October, and once this time is done, I'm not 100% sure what the future holds for me after retirement, but I do know that I am going um, to want to still be doing something where I can benefit firefighters and emergency responders. Yeah, I know that I still am very passionate. Don't know if there's a fire chief job for me out there. I don't know if that's really where I'm going to end up, but I do know that I'm going to be advocating in some way, shape, form, or fashion for our emergency responders.
Yeah. You know, when you described your career there, it gave me an appreciation, not just of what the military does for Americans, but of what for Americans in general, but what the military does for Americans individually. Because I think about you growing up on the north side of Chicago, and now through the military, you've had an opportunity to see the world, right? To go to Portugal and Qatar,
Yeah.
Japan, Korea, and this opportunity was a huge break and uplift for your life.
Oh, most certainly. And so I grew up on the west side. I went to
West
school
Side.
though. I went to high school on the north side.
Okay.
So my mom on the west side's uh, kind of tough, you know, come back then. I so it was kind of tough. Had your crime.
And so's the South Side and all
South
those.
side as well, yeah. And so the
Yeah.
thing is, the city gets a bad rap, right? Because there
Sure.
is crime, right? It does, but there are phenomenal families and great community communities in a lot of those areas where there is crime. So it's just not like sometimes the picture gets painted where it's just the absolute worst of the worst. But I'm gonna tell you, where there is crime in the city, I guarantee there is good also in those same areas. I was home
Absolutely.
one weekend, and I was going to my nephew's graduation, and there's about 100 boys in his school, all graduated, and every single student got a chance to go to college. They got accepted to college. Every single one everybody in the graduating class. Well, that same weekend, three people got killed in the city, and
Wow.
that's what made the news.
Right. Right.
My nephew's graduation was not in the news, right?
No. No.
And I thought that was an interesting news story. I'm like, this is good. This is
Yeah.
big news here. Didn't make the news, but what made the news was the three killings that happened in the city, which is, I think, significant enough to be spoken about. But the good news stories, I don't think there's enough of those. And so, but with that being said, yes, there were some things that I had to overcome and that I had to deal with growing up in the city. Um, but I do remember, in my home there was a lot of love. I remember sitting sometimes watching the television and seeing all of these places that I didn't know if I'd ever see. I see the Eiffel Tower. Never knew I'd ever have a chance to go visit. But while I was stationed in Germany, my wife and I looked at each other like, "You want to drive to Paris? Sure, let's go." And we drove to Belgium, drove to Luxembourg. We had lunch in Belgium, then had dinner in Paris, stood underneath the Eiffel Tower, and then
Wow.
got back in the car. And 4 hours later, we were back home in at Spangdahlem. So um, just amazing things that I've had the opportunity to do. I got to see the Porta Nigra in Trier. Had the chance to take leave and go and see the Colosseum in Rome. So many places I got a chance to go and visit while I was stationed in Europe. But as a kid, yeah, I never knew I'd see some of these places, but just had big eyes and big dreams. Had no clue how I was going to accomplish them, and the military did afford me um, the opportunity to do a lot of those things. Yeah,
Pretty exciting life. I'm going to say a pretty exciting life so far.
yeah, yeah,
We don't know what's coming next, right?
yeah. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It has been an exciting life. I will tell you. I, the military it's our firefighters. Just to compare it to the civilian world, I mean, you know, whether you are working in a volunteer department or paid department outside the gate, I mean, we do work hand in hand with a lot of our mutual aid partners. We have mutual aid agreements because something really, really big happens on this installation, we're likely going to need a bit of help. I have 3 fire stations, about 104 authorizations, but right now I'm operating with about 60 some odd firefighters, military and civilian mix, and they're split up between 2 different shifts. They work 48 hours on, 48 hours off, and they get a Kelly day as well. And then I have a staff of about 15 um, folks who help me, whether it's my fire inspectors, my emergency communication center dispatchers. I have a health and safety office. I have my training chief, who's phenomenal. My staff is phenomenal. And I have a superintendent, executive assistant that helps us out. And then the deputy fire chief, who kind of helps manage the madness while I try to be strategic and attend meetings and help commanders articulate risk and understand the risk that they're accepting across the installation. But our mutual aid partnership, we have a few of the local area fire chiefs get together and we eat breakfast together every Thursday morning. I missed breakfast yesterday. I will not miss next week. So what we all do is we take turns paying. It's about $150 price tag, when it's your turn to pay. So I paid last week. This week I missed. If you really want to get your money's worth, you need to make breakfast. So next week, next Thursday I'll do breakfast. But yeah, we have Fairview Heights, we have O'Fallon, we have Belleville, and a few other departments, Swansea, and Shiloh, and a few other departments that are around our local area, and we get a chance to kind of establish and maintain and strengthen that network, and it works great. And we know that we can rely on them if we had an incident that was so big that we needed their assistance, and of course we reciprocate if and when they need us. And our firefighters on base here actually do get to respond to quite a few fires as a result of that mutual aid agreement. So most of the big fires that my guys have had, they've had as they've responded to mutual aid incidents off base.
Interesting. There's something coming up recently that's been concerning me more, and that is the, I know that as bases fight for budgets and have to justify, their existence, somebody's coming after every base to close it, to save money. So I'm going to presume then that whatever bases we have now, they're all essential to our level of readiness. And so the compromising of any base would be detrimental to American readiness. And it seems that wildfire is one of those things now that can really compromise base readiness. And I look at the number of times they've had to close Vandenberg Air Force Base, that they had to close down the Pantex plant, where they're processing the ICBMs in North Texas. And I'm thinking now, it used to be we think about these, terrorist training camps and whatnot going on around the world. Well, it doesn't take a lot of training to operate a match or a lighter. And it seems like, like wildfire could be the next, or maybe is already becoming the next form of terrorism in terms of its ability to not only level a city with a single match if you got the right weather conditions, but to compromise bases and base personnel. And I'm wondering, what your thoughts are about that. Do you think that's something that's more and more prevalent on the minds of command staff?
Yeah, so I will tell you that we do have the DoD does have a wild land firefighting team that goes around to installations to assess its readiness and its ability to be able to combat wildfire. So
Okay.
while not every installation has a true wildfire response mission, as Vandenberg has the hot shots, and you have some other bases out there that really truly have a wildfire mission with response vehicles and equipment that's dedicated to that element of response. The DoD sends a team around. When I was in McConnell, I got to work with some folks that would show up. They work kind of with our environmental folks that are within our squadron, but they come out and they do assessment and they offer training. I still receive invites to send that I can send my guys to. It costs us, a little bit to send folks to some of these classes, but they also will come down and train your guys and make sure you have the necessary equipment. And it's all based on what your threat is in your area. So I tell you right here around our installation, yep, we do have a large golf course. And we have some trees that are around in our perimeter area. So there is an opportunity for brush fires for the most part, large grassland type incidents, but not really a true wildfire incident. Typical to what you'll see in those areas in California and some of the other areas on the West Coast. But I will say that it is something that it is, even though it isn't like a true part of our delivery. While I was at Minot, there was a little bit more of a response, of a need for that type of service, but still a little bit more of a need than Scott, but less
Right.
of a need than Vandenberg. So we ended up getting a Polaris, and we outfitted it with some equipment and a little small pump, and we utilized that for a lot of our brush fires. Without that vehicle, we're taking a crash vehicle out, and there were a few times we had some farmland and a lot of grass, and some crops got caught on fire while I was there, and so we utilized a crash truck, got as close to it as we could, and kind of used that to put the fires out. That brush truck that we ended up outfitting and purchasing outfitting, the Polaris worked very, very well for that type of response. So I will say that it is something that the Department of Defense I know is taking seriously, and it is something that we do have a team of experts going across the bases, because it is a DoD responsibility to protect its installations. So whether it's wildfire we're talking about or anything else that is a threat to our installations, we do have teams constantly on rotation assessing the safety of those installations. And at the fire department, we are like the insurance policy. We have the civil engineer squadron at most of our Air Force bases that are responsible for the infrastructure, building it and maintaining it, but also protecting it. And so the fire department falls under the civil engineer squadron. So our CE, as we call it, commander, is also dual hats as the base fire marshal. And so the installation commander is overall responsible for protecting the base, right? But he delegates that responsibility to the installation fire chief, but through the base fire marshal. So the person that is in charge of building, maintaining, and protecting the infrastructure on the installation actually is my boss. And so that's who I typically answer to. And then pretty much make sure that they're informed and they assist me as we educate the installation commander on the threats and the risk that's facing our installation. So we're the insurance policy. So as you know, if a building out there outside the gate ends up getting involved in fire and it's a total loss, and then maybe there's an insurance company that comes along and has to pay some money to help get it fixed or to compensate folks.
Right.
On a military installation, when that building is lost, it is a total loss, right? And so, as you know, our budgets we have appropriated funds. Congress approves the budget. It's a zero-sum game. You get the money that you get. You ain't getting anything else, right? And that money has to pay for a whole lot of things. So you have a building that's a total loss. Well, now we got to replace that facility and all of the equipment that may have been in it. And that money's coming from somewhere else that it might have been allocated to go. So, so who do you trust, and who's got your back? That's us. That's the fire department. We're Liberty, Liberty, Liberty. We are. We are. You're in good hands, and State Farm ain't here. The Air Force Fire Protection is there, right? So at the end of the day, like a good neighbor, that's us. That's at the end of the day, we are the insurance policy for our Air Force installations, and of course, our brothers and sisters in the other branches of service. We all train together at the DoD Fire Academy. And the training that we get there lays the foundation for us to go back and protect our bases across the Department of Defense. So
very interesting. Well, I imagine as we see conditions getting hotter, drier, and windier, in cities across the countries around the world, these same things are going to apply to bases, some of which are enormous.
Yeah.
And Fort Hood, for instance.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Right. Like that would look like a prime area for needing wildland fire protection.
Absolutely. And I'm certain, been through the Fort Hood area before, never really had an opportunity to meet with any of their emergency service professionals in that area. But during my time in Texas, I had opportunities to go up and visit that area. But yeah, you're 100% right. And now that I think about that area and all that's surrounding it, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I am certain, without a doubt that they would have the resources especially for initial response and attack, and then the proper mutual aid agreements in place. And those things are required by Department of Defense instruction. So I guarantee that they have mutual aid agreements in place to where their local partners can help them. And if and
hopefully.
when. Exactly.
LA had all the mutual aid in the world, and they still lost.
And look at that, right?
There's nothing, right? Yeah,
100%. You don't really know, right, where your holes are until you can think that you're good to go all day long. And I'm telling you, the best planning, thinking outside the box, strategic thinking, you name it, planning meetings, tabletop exercises, you name it. You don't know how prepared you are until it's staring you in the face.
You get hit in the mouth.
That's it. That's it.
Everybody got a plan, right?
You get punched in the face. That is right. But 100%. I do think that, and not you from your area of expertise. And I know exactly what you mean when you start thinking about the opportunities there are out there for someone to say, all right, let's go ahead and overwhelm some resources. Yeah, I do think that we have an opportunity to kind of maybe come together and think outside of the box a little bit more. when it comes to terrorist incidents, terrorists do not all look the same. They
No.
do not all think the same.
No.
Some of them, you absolutely are right. We swear in the military to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That's right.
So that lets us know that our enemies are not always going to be from other places.
I mean, it could just be a disgruntled eighth grader with a
100%.
lighter, and he can take your
100%.
base down, right?
100%. I mean, we're
Yeah.
seeing a lot of that, and in active shootings, we're seeing a lot of that. Just who's pissed enough to decide, okay, today's going to be the day that I'm going to do something stupid and show
Yeah.
the world show the world that I'm mad and I'm angry, and could overwhelm resources very, very quickly. I think when we stood up Department of Homeland Security, it was in response to us kind of not being as prepared as we thought we were, right?
Yeah, right.
And so now I think we're a little bit better, right, at communicating, a little bit better at speaking the same language. But yeah, is there still work to do? Absolutely, absolutely. There is a lot more work to do. For me, I think the biggest thing is about being professional, not feeling as though you know it all and that you have all the answers. I tell my staff, I am not the smartest person in the room, but I rely on all of their ideas, all of their experience, and us to sit together around the table and hash it out, throw it all out there. I want to hear everything that it is you got to say. But the moment I start thinking that I am the smartest, that I've been in the longest, that I have the most stripes and the most experience and the title and the white helmet, and that my opinion is the only one that matters, we're in trouble. So I think leadership, that's kind of why I have a huge passion for leadership in the fire service, leadership in general, but especially leadership in the fire service, because with the right leadership in our fire departments, a person who is willing to set the example and willing to set high expectations, listen to their people, but hold them accountable when they need to be held accountable, to train them well, to do the best that you can, advocate for resources so that they can have the things that they need. These types of things that we're talking about, right, require strong leadership, and it's at all levels. Yeah, it's at all levels.
Yeah. As you think about the next phase of your career, which I'm sure your wife has well accounted for your time, but when you sit back after and you look at the problems that have yet to be addressed, you kind of make two charts, right? Here's all the problems that I see that still need to be addressed, that still need solutions. And then here are the areas where I have a particular strength where I think I could be the most help. Because I'm sure you see problems where you realize, you're not the fit for it. But you probably also see problems where you say, you know what, based on my experience, I think I could be the most useful person to address this. And that's where you focus your effort. Where does your heart say that you want to focus your efforts in your next career?
Yeah. So to be honest, really, as I just said, when you have a group of people who choose, right, to leave their families for 2 days, 6 days, maybe out of a week, out of every 2 weeks, who, when everyone is running from an incident, you are running towards it. And to be perfectly honest, what incident? Anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
But we're running towards it. On someone's worst day, we are there. When you have individuals who maybe have some aches and pains in their knees and maybe in their feet and in their back and in their arms, but they still put on an extra 50 to 60 pounds, right? And put a pack on, strap their mask and helmet down, and Oh, and then they're cleaning the station. Maybe they're cleaning toilets and wiping down the kitchen and putting oil in the trucks. Whatever it is, right? The tough jobs, the dirty jobs. I really think my passion for firefighters is not just about the cool things that come with the job, looking good on the trucks, being big and strong. My passion for firefighters is about the types of people that we are. You're not a millionaire being a firefighter. You're not filthy rich in doing this job. You do this job because you believe in community, you believe in helping others, and I think the biggest thing that I can contribute is being a voice, is being an advocate. And when the military uniform comes off, so do the gloves for me. There are certain things that I will always carry myself as a professional, but I'll be able to move a little bit more. I won't have to worry about getting deployed. I can wake up when I want to, but at the end of the day, I can go where I want to go. I can say the things I feel like I need to say without worrying about whether or not I'm divulging maybe too much. I can talk about real things, real people, clear words, exactly how I want to say it, and be exactly where I need to be without having to take leave. I think I can be a very strong advocate for firefighters and the things that they face, their mental health issues.
Yep. That's the
Their
big one,
family,
right? And now
100%.
I saw a post this morning that said, obviously we know first responders face tremendous stress. That takes a huge emotional toll, huge psychic toll, big toll on your mental health. But while they're still on the job, they at least have the camaraderie of other people going through the same thing. And they said that one of the most unexpected aspects of the toll of mental health was retirement, because now you've taken the toll of all of these things that you've seen, all these things, or I should say things that you cannot unsee. And now you're home and you're alone and you don't have that group of people who've been through that with you to share that with. And they say one of the highest suicide rates now in first responders is in that retirement community because they don't have that daily support.
Yeah. So I'll share with you as I reflect and think back on things. Yeah, there are those things, the unseen things that you just don't you don't forget. So yeah, whether it's suicides or I have a picture in my office. It's of some Chicago firefighters doing CPR. I'm looking at it, doing CPR on a child, an infant, toddler, in the middle of the street. And it's pictures from the Chicago Sun-Times. It's an award-winning photo, and it used to be something I used as a visual aid in my classes when I taught CPR years ago. And the picture and the caption, they actually let you know that the child didn't make it, right? But
You want to grab that off the wall and show it
I
to me?
will, most certainly will. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
So I'll read the caption. It says, a crowd gathered as a firefighter administered mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to a child for 20 minutes. Between breaths, the firefighter repeated, "Come on, baby, breathe." The relentless effort proved to be fruitless. The child died. Photo by 𝐿_Podgorski from the Chicago Sun-Times. 1985 IAFF Media Awards won first prize. And so this is the picture. Let's see if I can get it to where you can't see the glare. You can see the firefighters there in the crowd gathering, and they're all standing back and watching, right? And there's the child, and they're doing their jobs. They're doing CPR. They're doing what they can to kind of save this child. So my first time doing CPR, I was on a like for real. It was on Yokota Air Base, Japan, and we had a 70 some odd year old retiree that had collapsed on a cargo plane. He was taking a space available flight from Yokota to Hawaii to see his daughter get married. He collapsed on the plane. They call 911. The crew starts to do CPR. We show up on scene. I'm on the rescue crew. I'm a young airman. We had 3 people on the rescue crew at the time. And so our job is to get there, take over CPR. And we do. We're doing CPR on him, shocking him with the AED. He's not coming to. The ambulance gets there. They take over CPR. They load him up. Everybody beats feet, gets to the ER. ER staff takes him. They get him on the table. They continue to work on him. We see some of his personal effects being set aside and pulling out pill bottle after pill bottle, prescription after prescription out of a brown paper bag. Older retirees probably got all kinds of issues. And he doesn't come back. So we get back to the station, and that bothered me a bit. I'm a young airman. This is the first time I'm doing CPR. I've been to multiple CPR classes. And in my head, I'm like, we were supposed to put this guy in a recovery position and everything was supposed to be good to go. Because that's in all my training. That's how it happens. Everybody claps for you. Great job. Put him in recovery position. Next, who's next? So when I became a CPR instructor, I made sure that in every class I had one student that as we went through the evaluations, one person wasn't going to have somebody come back. And I needed everybody to see that. And so am I doing anything wrong? Yeah. Checking pulse, no pulse, no breathing. Anything? Nope, still no pulse, no breathing. All right, going back, checking airway, give back again, pumping away. All right, yep, am I doing it right? Yep, you're doing everything perfect. Still not breathing. No pulse. All right, what am I doing wrong? Not doing anything wrong. Sometimes you don't bring them back. You're giving them a chance, though. So, yep. You showing up, you doing exactly what it is that you're trained to do gives them a chance. But you do not get to decide whether they stay or whether they go. And I learned that lesson. And so this was I found this in an old catalog of fire department pictures. And I cut this one out and I used that as a visual aid. And once I was no longer teaching CPR, and I had my first assistant chief job, I put this in a frame, and it's been a staple in my office ever since. Yeah.
What a meaningful piece. And I had that, when I was an EMT, I had that experience many times as well.
Yeah.
Right? You're just giving the person the best shot to come back. But sometimes the fact of the matter is not that they had a heart attack. The fact of the matter is they died.
That's it.
And they're dead.
That's it.
There's nothing you could do about that.
Nothing you can do. And that ties back into the mental health piece for me.
Yeah. Because
with that, we went back to the station and guys were eating oatmeal and back we're waiting on the next call, and I'm sitting there in the recliner like, everybody just good with this guy dying like that? It was something I hadn't seen yet until that moment. And then of course you talk about 30 years in the business. Of course there's been more. And my firefighters have seen more. My firefighters get to see things, and they're young guys. And I know some of them have struggled with some of the things that they've seen. Some haven't, or maybe it just hasn't hit them yet. And so for the mental health piece, that's huge with me. I go talk to a therapist. And I still remember my first day going to do it. It was sitting and thinking, and just not just about the things that I've seen, but the things that I know my guys get out there and see. I show up on scene anytime there's something major, especially if it's involving a fatality. I'm there. I want to see my guys. I want to talk to them. I want to make sure that they're okay. I pay attention to them for days, to see how they're doing, how they're probably, if they look the same. Roll call shift changes for me are an opportunity for me to look in the eyes of every single one of my firefighters. When I start seeing a guy that's always bright and bubbly, starts to have their head down a little bit more than usual, I wanted to kind of bring that guy in and say, hey, come on in, sit down, talk to me. What's going on? You good? So I do try to pay attention.
Are you not? I mean, not to lead the witness, but
yeah.
Are you not good? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But these things are real, and I make it known to my guys that I'm not too big and too strong, so strong that I don't hold on to things. And sometimes these are things that I want to lay on my wife. These are sometimes things I can't talk to my best friend who's not a firefighter, about. I do have another good friend. I give best friend term to two guys. One's not a firefighter, the other one is a firefighter. You know, the firefighter guy, no, I talk to him about this stuff, but the other guy, I can't drop this stuff, this stuff on him.
Yeah, right. No, it's
But
hard.
really, I've been talking more and more to a therapist who helps me tremendously to be able to process and understand some of these things. And I talk to my guys about these things during my Chiefs chats, because I want them to know it's okay. Go talk to
Yes.
somebody. Get this
Yep.
stuff out. Don't hold on to it, because you hold on to it for so long, and next thing you know, you're having chest pains and you don't know why. And you head tossing and turning in the middle of the night. You can't sleep and you don't know why. You're snapping on your significant other and you don't really understand what's going on or why you're doing it, right? Kids
Yeah.
want to play with you and they don't understand why mom or dad is distant and doesn't want to play with them, right? It's very important. It's a very important issue, and of course we're going to show up day to day trying to get our job done. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, mentally, physically, and spiritually, socially, takes us to pay attention to all of those pillars. And if we're not doing those things, we're not going to be as effective as we need to be on the job. So I think, Steve, that's kind of where my passion is. And I like to think that I've been inspired by a lot of uh, phenomenal leaders, and that inspiration. I think I still carry a lot of that passion and and that ability to want to inspire the next generation. And so I
Yeah.
think that's what kind of where it's the inspiration, it's the motivation, it's the real talk. It's those are the things, right? Because tactics and strategies will change over the years, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And how we did business 15, 20 years ago, we're doing business a lot different today. But the need for leadership, real, true leadership, the need for somebody to be there in your corner, to listen, to have your back, to tell these stories. I think those are the things that our people need so that they could feel like they have a voice. I think the biggest thing that my guys know, they know two things. They know that I care about them and I would do anything for them, but they also know I won't hesitate to hold them accountable. Uh, and so at the end of the day, you can do both and still kind of be respected, right? You don't have to just
Yeah.
give them everything to be
No.
loved, right?
Right.
To
Right.
be
Right.
like, they know that that they have a strong advocate and I'm going to fight for them, but they also know that I'm going to help bring them back to center if they end up going too far, and in the other direction. So
Oh, what a great way to put that.
yeah,
I wonder about maybe reframing the way first responders think about their job. Because if you were to ask, the guys who work for you, what's your job? Save lives.
yeah,
Well, if you go out to save a life and you didn't save that life, then you failed, right?
that is true.
And they're not performing failing level work. So maybe their job isn't to save lives, but their job is give people the best possibility of living.
100%.
And that's something you don't fail because you did it. You did the CPR, you did the evacuation, you did the airlift, you did the thing. So you gave the person the best chance to live, and that's your job. And that's something if you phrase it that way, you can't fail.
That is true. You're 100% right. Giving folks a chance, but also being there, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had an incident where we responded to a fatality, and when we got there, it was already done, and this was in North Dakota. But my firefighters were there. So even though there was no opportunity for life-saving intervention, we were there. We were
Yeah.
there to console. We were there to assist and help, and that meant a lot to the individuals who were having the worst day of their life. Right. So so even if we are in a position where we are not able to even take the shot at helping someone survive,
Mm-hmm.
being there sometimes is sometimes better, even better than that. It's better than nothing.
That's
And when they
right.
see our trucks show up, um,
They're not
especially
alone.
if we're being called, when those trucks show up, there's an expectation. There's an expectation that you're going to get something. When those firefighters, when those medics, I throw our police law enforcement brothers and sisters out there as well. When our first responder shows up, there's the expectation that they're here to help, right, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so, yeah, that is, I think you're onto something there. Yeah, your job isn't necessarily to save the day, because you may not save the day, but just to be there on that day,
Yeah.
and to be a part of the healing process for somebody, whoever it is. Sometimes that's gold.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I can ask you something from an international perspective based
Mhm.
on the deployments you've had around the world.
Mhm.
Uh, it seems like a particularly American idea that if you didn't save the life, that you failed, and death won and we lost, um, because particularly in America, like, we don't accept death as a part of the continuum of what happens to everybody. It's a natural thing,
Yeah,
but we see when someone dies as a failure. The hospital
yeah,
failed, the doctor failed, the paramedics failed. Like, people die, that's a thing. And I wondered if you sense that culturally differently, if you're in Korea or Japan or Portugal. Like, are there places, because I know you deal with life and death wherever you were,
yeah. That's
and
true.
does the local culture impact whether they experience this as a failure or as a natural part of the progression?
Well, from my experience, that's a good question. I do know that in different cultures and communities, yeah, that I think you're 100% right. In different cultures and communities, we do view death differently. But from my experience, working in fire departments where I worked with Japanese nationals, um, Portuguese nationals, South Korean nationals, Qatari nationals. Um, and in Qatar, we had an all military department, but our counterparts um, that worked for the Qatari government, we did have Qatari national firefighters that shared a fire station with us. And sometimes, yeah, if it was big enough, we would respond together. Um, but I would say, from my experience, firefighters view this the same way. So I do not think it is personally. I do not think that it is a that from different uh, cultures internationally that we see it differently. I think all firefighters view this the same way. We believe we're heroes. We're heroes. We are, right. We believe that when the call comes, the cape comes out, and it is time for us to go save the day. No matter what country I've been in, who the firefighters were that I've worked for or with, that has been how we tackle the job and how we approach the scene. Let's go. Let's figure out what we got to do and fix it. We have tools and equipment, medical bags, everything on the truck. We have all of the things, the gadgets that we need to get there and make it happen, to fix it.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of
It's
the
a
times
dangerous mindset, though.
it is. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's where leadership comes in again. That's where it takes the leader, whether we're talking about the fire chief, whether we're talking about the captain on the rig, whether that's the lieutenant on the rig, or whether that's just an experienced firefighter who's seen enough of these things to where they could help kind of give the proper perspective to other folks on that crew or at that scene. I think that's where we have an opportunity to kind of shape mindsets and help folks to understand what it is that we're doing, what it is that we're capable of, and what it is that we do not have the power to do. A good leader can help their folks understand those things, because we are all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We're whether we're in the same country or not, we all have been raised by different people. We have a different set of values, but we all want to, raise our hands or sign up to do the same jobs. And so when we take these jobs and these opportunities on, I mean, and then I'll tell you, uh, I love Chicago Fire, the TV show. I mean, I love it. It's very entertaining. I love it. But shows like that and movies like Backdraft and some of
Yeah.
the other fire department movies that have been made, they don't help. We're heroes. We're heroes in those. We're saving the day. We're not wearing masks. We're ripping our masks off, going in the building, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. We're big and strong, carrying two people on our shoulders
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah, whatever that looks like. That's what we're doing. And so a lot of our folks, we sign up and we want to do this job because there's a lot of glory, right? And when you save the day, that's a fulfilling prophecy there. Like, man, I'm a firefighter, and it's time for me to go show and prove that I can do this thing, right? And that I can make a difference. It takes the leader, though, to let their team know that, hey, even though this didn't work out the way we wanted it to work out, we still made a difference, right? Just by being there. What you do is important. And maybe we didn't make a difference on this call the way we thought we would, but we got another call coming and another one after that and more after that, right? And maybe in the same day, right? So depending on where you're at, not in the Air Force, probably not. That's a busy day in the Air Force if we got 7-8 calls in a day. Sometimes we do have busy days like that, but our fire prevention in the Air Force is probably second to none. And the way our buildings are constructed and the way we work with our civil engineer squadron and our alarm shops and different other agencies on the installation to keep the base safe. Again, when you don't have insurance, right, you have to really work at it to make sure that you keep things safe, right, and protected. So we do a really, really good job at keeping the base safe, and our fire prevention professionals. Big applause to them for the great work that they do across our Air Force.
Well, the amount of appreciation you show for your staff, is such a hallmark of great leadership.
Oh, thank you. I tell you, I do have some of my folks ask me, and I asked one of my commanders once, extremely busy, my wing commander when I was stationed at Minot. I had the opportunity to help at the wing on several occasions, thanks to a good friend of mine, Chief Master Sergeant Tori Jones, who was our command chief. Whenever she would be on leave or take off on a temporary assignment, there were times when she would ask, "Hey, can you help out and just kind of keep things together for me while I'm gone?" And so I had an opportunity to help the wing commander out there and sit in her seat. And I asked him one day, I said, Colonel Hoadley was our wing commander. I said, "Hey, sir, do you how do you do this? Like, your schedule is so jam packed. I don't know how you make it happen." And he said, "I have a great team. I have a great team around me." And so I have a young exec who asked me here recently the same question. "You're so busy. You're in this meeting, that meeting. You're doing so much. How do you do it? How do you do it all?" And so, Colonel Hoadley, I don't know if you're going to watch this, but I hope you didn't copyright that line, because I sure stole it from you. I literally, but it's the truth. I echoed his words and said, "It's you guys. It's the team. I am able to be successful in what it is that I do, and what's expected of me because of the team that I have. Without the team that I have and the way that they do business and the pride and the professionalism and the excellence that they give every single day, if it wasn't for them, I would not be successful here." Yep. And I have a lot more gray hairs on the top. There's quite a few of them.
You got a few. Wow. Well, that's a great note to close on there. Thanking your guys, but thank you as well. Thank you for your service, and I thank the military for providing the opportunity that they've provided you to have such a fascinating career.
Oh,
And I know they say, I don't know, I watch American Idol sometimes, and they say,
yeah.
leave it all on the stage, right? And whatever you got, put it all in there. And I can see you put it all in there, and yet you're still going to have some on the other end of this to give elsewhere. So thank you so much for that. And thanks for joining me on the Fire Break today.
Thank you, Steve. Such a pleasure, and I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to chat with you. Thank you so very much. All the best to you.
Thank you. This is Chief Shanton Russell over there at Scott Air Force Base, where he didn't go there to retire, but he's sprinting to retire. You're listening to The Fire Break. I'm Steve Wolf. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you on the other side. Be well and take care of yourself.